Hey everyone, this is Alta Wisdom speaking. Today we are reviewing my latest Max for Live device, MultiLFO. Let's get on to it. Okay, I really don't know where to start because this MultiLFO is pretty big as a Max for Live device. We shall review a little bit the graphical interface and the features and then make use of them. So here it is. Yeah, this is the thing. So it's pretty wide. Basically what it is, it's 3 LFOs in one. Started with the regular Max for Live LFO, which is shipped with Live, and removed quite a lot of features and added them back with improved versions. So let's see what it is. So first, the mapping, which is pretty simple. So you have 7 mappings for each of the LFOs. You have 3 different LFOs, which have different parameters, different mappings. So it's really 3 LFOs in just one device, because I usually end up having loads of LFOs in the same track because I want to control a lot of things and modulate them, and having just one compact device is better. Sorry. And let's review first the shapes. We got basically the regular shapes that are shipped with the LFO, but I've changed most of them. So if I take, for example, the sine wave, yeah, I may just load an empty device instead. This way, yeah. That's 162. Let's start anew with an empty device so I can play with it. And let's just say device, and that's it. I need to map it to something to have something showing. So let's map it by default to whatever, to the queue, to master device. Yeah, okay, that's the master level. I just removed this one. So as you see, we have this sine device displaying. Let's slow it down so we see better. I can change the line width depending on your screen. You want to have something which is a bit more visible, depending on the Retina Max, if your PC Windows. And then you have a hard sync feature, which is similar to what you can find in synth. It basically causes phase restart at regular intervals, which are slower, smaller, or bigger than the frequency. So if I say something like a lower version, then what you're going to see is that the full sine wave is not happening anymore because it's interrupted by itself at 58%. And so it's starting over from the beginning and it's causing this weird upso. And on the opposite, if I want to go above 1, then I will have more sine wave compressed in just one frequency, one period of the sine wave, and they're going to be cut. So let's say 1.5. It's like 1.5. So you have the sine wave starting and doing 1 and 35% of its period, and then abruptly stop back because we have this 1 hertz rate, which is the basic one. So with just this feature, you already can achieve things like quite unusual, starting from a simple sine wave. Let's move to the upso. So that's not changed at all. This one is regular one. Same for the down. The triangle hasn't been changed either. So that's the basic shapes. But then comes the square. Max for Live is shipped with a regular square, so it's a half pulse. The pulse width is half of the period. I've added a way to shorten this pulse width so we can have it smaller, so it's just a burst, or on the opposite, having it span through most of the period. This is something which was missing in the original LFO. We have the classic random, which is similar to the one. It's actually the same as the regular LFO. And then we have the binary. I've just added a probability of occurrence of the one value. So the regular Max for Live device is just having equal chances of shooting 1 and 0. You want you may be able to control that if you want to have more one happening. So let's say 85%, then most of the time is going to trigger one values and a few of the time lower zero values. On the opposite, if you want to just have almost zeros. And so you only have a few of this trigger burst happening. So simply. Drunk, yeah. So drunk is, as the name says it, is doing small movements. So it's like someone which will be drunk while walking, and so it's gonna do small steps, but sometimes gonna miss a step and go farther. So it's moving around the same and just by small steps. This one is the same. I explained maybe later this feature because rest at middle and rest at bottom is something which is not obvious. Then I have another drunk, which is this time not based on equal probability values of moving, but a Gaussian amplitude. Gaussian is make more chances to do small steps than bigger ones. So if I say wide Gaussian amplitude, then you see it's most of the time around the middle, but sometimes it's going to do a sudden burst, which is wider, and it's considered closer to what a human would do when playing, for example, with a pitch bend knob. So that's a bit more human, similar to human things. And finally, I have the latest shape, which is a middle between a totally random value and the Gaussian that was here. So if I say only Gaussian, then let's diminish this value here. So again, I'm around the middle, but not moving too far most of the time. And if I switch back to uniform, then it's gonna do exactly at the random. So you can have something which is can be modulated as seen fit. So it's really to have something more than just a pure sample and hold thing. If you want to have something a bit more controllable, so I can diminish the amplitude and switch back to something which is almost not moving, like so. And then if I want suddenly to have something which is crazy, then I just increase the uniform and it's gonna burst all values around. So that is for the shapes. Then simply the rate, so you're going to find something which is similar to the original one, but I've added this frequency multiplier, which allows to take one frequency or one value and accelerate it smoothly, which is something you can do if you're on Hertz, of course. You can multiply the frequency on Hertz, so if you just play with this thing. But if you're on sync mode, then you can't do that. So this thing allows you to start from a regular value and switch back. The important thing on this feature, and this is not obvious, is that if I'm playing with this thing, let's switch to a sine wave, it's going to be a bit more visible. Let's remove the hard sync and do it slower. So if I want to slow it down, as you can see, it's changing speed smoothly, and that's this phase slide parameter, which allows to have something which is smooth, which wouldn't happen on the classical LFO. Let's just compare that using opening the LFO. Yep. So if I'm like so, and I change it, what you see is that's pretty similar. Actually, that's pretty similar. So I just get it wrong. So it's able to do something which is as smooth as what I do, but it won't allow you to do something which is not simple multiplication on the frequency. So as you can see here, I can play with that knob, and it will still stay smooth. So you don't have any sudden jumps of the phase. You can adjust this thing if you want this to happen slowly. For example, 1 millisecond, then you're gonna start having a bit more jumps. And if I want to do it even slower, then it's gonna follow, but very slowly switching to the new frequency. Again, as in classical, I can hold value. I can force it to sync if for some reason it's not in sync anymore. And that's pretty it. That multiplier can be changed to quantized values if I want to increase it by a fixed number. so between 1/16 and up to 16 times. So based on this value, on the speed. Let's go now to the mapping. Here I've just added this small graphical thing that you probably know if you're using others of my devices, which is a function, a transfer function between the value of the LFO and the actual value of that which is sent. So if I just here I'll do that, I'm compressing the values downward. So as you can see, I have more of the lower values happening. I can push it farther. And on the opposite, if I'm pushing it upward, then I'm gonna have more upward values. It's gonna compress to some it's really like a compressor, so it's gonna compress the values upwards or downward depending on this thing. The rest at bottom and rest at middle are used when you're doing envelope following, because this is something which I've added. Let's open the advanced parameters. So here you see the 6 others mapping, and you have some new features. First one is the quantize, which is missing on the original LFO. So this allows you to quantize the values. Like say I want to have only 8 values. Maybe it's not working in this part. Yeah, only 2 values, so on the pulse it doesn't make sense at all. Yeah, so then you see it's my output value quantized to 8 different possibilities. So it's interesting somehow. Then you have the depth, which is similar to this one. The difference is the difference between the regular LFO and mine is what you see here visually corresponds to what is sent to that first mapping. So you actually see the modulation happening, whereas here it just shows you the same LFO, even whatever you have mapped. It's not linked. This one I preferred showing what's actually going on. So if for some reason it doesn't send any modulation, then you just see it like so. The offset is the same thing, so you can offset down or up. And the follower will be used to actually trigger the start of the LFO based on the input signal. So it's gonna, if I put 100 on the follower, have an attack, then if some sound comes in the LFO, then it will start working, start playing after a while with some attack. And there is some release as well. And as you see here, it doesn't change anything because I need to ask that thing to follow to start from the bottom. So this means that when my LFO is still, then it's going to start from the minimum value and not the middle, which is the default. So as you see here, there is sound here. So my LFO is starting, and now it's resting at bottom. So it's I'm on 0. Okay. Yeah, so here is the follower. I can ask my value here to start from middle or from the minimum if it's following. If it's not following, then it won't have any impact, which as you can see, it doesn't change anything. But if I'm following, then I'm asking this value to track from the bottom. And it's same. We have the same parameter for all the tracking. So let's say I'm gonna put an attack like half a second, and as you can see, you're gonna see my saw wave starting slowly, like so. And you see here my sound coming in, and when it stops, then the envelope starts. Let's increase the release time as well, like so. So this is what happens when I'm following from the bottom here. And if I'm following from the middle, then it's gonna rest here instead of there. So it's really dependent on what parameter you are controlling, but you have these 2 possibilities. But it's pretty powerful if you want to, typically if you want to have some pitch shifting, so you want to just have something which is playing from your synth, and after a while you want to start pitching it up and down, like diverging, like some analog old style synth, and you can delay this thing and increase the width of the pitch values. like so. It works as well with random values. So as you can see, my random values are in the middle and then at the start of it. Let's smooth that. And so you see, these are my random. Let's shorten the release time. So staying, resting, and starting over. Resting, starting over. So this is really something which is which I find very convenient. Okay, so I think that's it for the values. Let's have a look at what it does on the real project. So let's remove this thing. We don't need it anymore. This one as well. And let's see what we have here. So as again, I have my main foundation from my track. Need to put the volume back. Nothing fancy, just some background element. And let's add this thing. So this is a grain table device of mine. So that's mimicking the TI grain table, the virus. I have an auto filter here, and I have some gating afterward using my auto gate. And here I have this MultiLFO. One interesting point that we're going to see is, just in a bit. So this is controlling the frequency, which is there. I think that's this one again. Yeah. I think this is this thing which is controlled. Here I'm controlling that parameter, which is FMing my slave wavetable from the carrier, so I can modulate this thing as well. And what you see here is that this depth parameter is moving, which means that actually I've made it possible to map these knobs from within the LFO. So here it's not directly from this LFO, but it's done by the second one. Depth here is modulating. So this LFO is modulating the depth of this one. On this second one, I have the post width, which is here, which is controlled. And we have a Gaussian, which is a full Gaussian, and starting from the bottom, as you see here. So Gaussian starting from the bottom. Here we have a basic triangle, but as you see with the depth changing, it's doing things, and it's quantized as well. So that's weird stuff. And the third one is modulating the wavetable position here, using a sine wave, and with a quite low value. And we are as well modulating this FM 0 to 1. So my carrier is controlling the second wavetable player. And I'm controlling as well here this offbeat parameter, which is in AutoGate, which prevents gate to happen on beat sometimes. So you have your kick playing and you don't want to have things on top of it, so you can sidechain somehow to avoid having sound there. So it's controlled and modulated randomly with this sine. Yeah, that's a sine wave. So this is it. Let's just listen to what it does, this track only. Maybe a bit odd. A bit too much of reverb. Yeah, I think I changed things here. I'm sending this. So this is one of the examples. So I've freezed and bounced one of this thing. A good thing is to bounce as much as possible the LFO as soon as you have something which is okay for you, because this is really 3 LFOs in one. So if you have seen the LFO from live, it's not a lightweight device already, and I have 3 of these with my features. So I managed to stay like at the same CPU usage as the basic LFO, but still, as you can see here, the CPU is quite high. If I just remove this thing, yeah, it's taking like 10-11% of my CPU. So make sure that you do your thing on one device and then freeze it and flatten if need be, or at least freeze it. Anyway, when using modulation from a general standpoint, you're gonna want to freeze things as soon as possible, because it might clutter up your undo thing here. Even though I think it doesn't now, but if you arm one of the tracks for modulation, then you're gonna have really some issues with modulating devices, whatever they are. So this is an example of what I've bounced here. Let's just play it solo. So some kind of weird FM-ish sound, just an example. Let's switch to the second one, which is what I call the real rack. So it's a very simple serum patch, just an FM sound. So you have the carrier here, which is the sine wave, minus 2 octaves. And this is the saw wave, which is my modulated wave. It's quite a lot of FM. Then I have this MultiLFO, which is playing here with the second macro, whatever it is. Oh, there's nothing here, so it's not doing anything, whatever. Because I think I lost the patch which was there, but whatever. Anyway, I get the bounce sound as well. So it's quantized, and I think that's it for this one. It's a sine wave, but quantized. The second one is playing with the frequency shifting here, so it's shifting the sound up and down, and it's strongly quantized. And the third one, I think, yeah, it's controlling the resonance of that filter here. But I think I had some. Yeah, I think I'm missing the frequency here. There, yes, let's map it to the frequency, something like that. So you see my frequency and resonance, which are moving a bit erratically, but actually they are following this sine wave. So if I listen to this thing, I think it won't provide anything good, but we can try nonetheless. Yeah, and I hear there's some ring modulation, but I've changed that, so yeah, we can remove this thing. And we can probably control other stuff. Yeah, whatever. So this is just an example, whatever. So let's listen to what I have done, and in the end with the same controls, but with a different sound. There's some auto gate here. So all this to go to this thing. So let's just kill these two things and have a listen to the global stuff. Okay then, so this is it. That's the MultiLFO. So feel free to comment on this video if you have any question. If you like what I do, if you like this device, and from a general standpoint, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. And head on to my Gumroad if you want to know more about it, or you can head as well on the sound directive website, which is also providing and proposing my devices and plugins. So this is it for me, and take care.